That's number one. You kind of reset.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Health with Brandi and Amir. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor. Brandi Rashidian is my other half, and the reason you probably watch this show, she's the one with all the ideas and color commentary and wise cracks. Crack not being a pun from a chiropractor.
Yes, exactly.
We got a lot to talk about today, but if in case this is the first time you're watching or listening, the Real Health Podcast is where we take all the latest news in healthcare and in health and wellness, latest discoveries, happenings, whatever. And we read those articles, we summarize them, and we discuss them with you. We tell you how it applies to your life, how you can use it to your benefit to make your lives better. Our goal and focus for doing this whole podcast is so that we can teach you how to feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger.
And at least know how to ask great questions,
Absolutely.
right? And start to dig in
Absolutely.
and ask deeper questions when it comes to
we
hear in the media.
We've been in healthcare for over 20 years.
Which is probably hard to believe since we only look like we're in our early 20s.
Yes, I'm still 30. I've been 30 for almost 20 years.
We did decide we'd never grow up.
That's
Because
true.
when you grow up, you don't have as much fun.
That's right.
So we want to have a good time.
We do have a good time. This is part of it. So thanks for joining us on our good time. It's crazy because time's flying by.
Oh my gosh.
So we're recording this at the end of February. When you watch it, it's going to be beginning of March. And
We're
wow.
here.
And it's a warm, cloudy day.
Yep.
Drizzling a little bit, but it's warm. I didn't need a jacket today.
Yeah, it feels pretty good out.
It's amazing. So I guess spring will be here. I heard termites are out. It's termite season.
Wow, I have not heard that.
Allergies are coming around early this year because it warmed up soon.
I think we're going to have to try to find some articles. Sean, if we can try to find something on allergies, I think that would be, it's a hot topic.
Not termites.
No.
Just allergies.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not looking forward to a termite conversation.
Although I found out today that everybody should have a termite check. If you live in Maryland, the termites in Maryland are subterranean and you don't see them. They eat your house from the bottom up.
Wow.
Very interesting.
That's disheartening.
We should probably get into some articles.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first one we have is about Toby Keith. And most people know that he passed away.
Yeah.
And
young too, only 62.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, he was still good at what he does. It's a shame. It's a loss. The article is from USA Today. It says stomach cancer killed Toby Keith at 62. The disease can strike young and be hard to spot.
Kind of like the termites underneath, right?
Exactly. Or the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
Country singer-songwriter Toby Keith died at 62 on Monday from stomach cancer, a relatively rare form of cancer that is usually discovered in a person's late 60s and can also strike younger people. The disease was once a leading killer in the United States, but modern diets, food storage, and other changes have led to it being uncommon. However, it's often missed in the early stages because it has easy to mistake symptoms.
It's very interesting because I don't think I've ever actually heard about certain types of cancers decreasing in number.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Because truly, most generally, we see those numbers climb as time has gone on, not decreased.
You want to know why?
I would love to.
Okay. So because early detection has improved in those cancers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's an article in here, I don't think we'll get to it today, about how overall prevalence of cancer has increased. And it's exactly what you're saying. It all increases. But there, in certain countries where technology is not good, fewer people are diagnosed with breast cancer, but a higher percentage of them die. In the United States, way more people get diagnosed with breast cancer,
because we have the technology to detect it earlier.
Right. So, and it's just because we detect it earlier and earlier.
Right.
And if they used thermography, they would detect it.
Oh my gosh.
Even earlier
yes,
than that.
Ladies, maybe we can save that till the end, but look up and start researching thermography. It is an absolute amazing technology to be able to really see what like abnormal blood flow patterns in like the breast area, which in order for a tumor to grow, you have to have blood flow. So it actually can see those abnormal blood flow patterns, which can then lead to tumors
Yeah.
growing. So you're talking about something you can catch way sooner than what you'd
Years
see
before they
on,
show up on a mammogram.
yeah,
Years.
it's huge.
Keith died after battling the disease for 3 years. He went public with his diagnosis in 2022, saying he had received chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery to fight the cancer. Stomach cancer mostly affects older people, possibly because it can, in some cases, be linked to a lifetime of certain behaviors. The average age of diagnosis is 68, according to the American Cancer Society. That said, the incidence in younger people is starting to increase. So there you go, it is increasing, said Dr. Sunil Kamath, a gastrointestinal oncologist with the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. That may be the result of higher levels of overweight and obesity and possibly overuse of antibiotics in children, which can alter gut health.
So let's sit in that for just a moment,
Yeah.
because we do have a culture that we want to throw antibiotics at everything, right?
That's right.
We even throw antibiotics at, like, when we know it's a virus, because we want to, just in case, provide the antibacterial
Yeah.
support if a bacteria begins to grow as
Yeah.
a secondary
I mean, that's the
illness.
scripted message. You say, I thought this was a viral thing. Why are you giving me antibiotics? And the doctor will always say, we want to prevent secondary infections.
So here's the thing. Your body is actually built to be able to fight off certain bacteria and viruses naturally, right? We develop those abilities and those antibodies as we come in contact with certain bacteria and viruses, right? But whenever we end up adding an antibiotic, we're actually clearing out all the flora in the gut. Like
Yeah.
we're getting rid of that bacteria, because there's good bacteria in our body, but the antibiotic doesn't know the difference between good bacteria and bad bacteria. So it wipes out everything, right? So most people don't understand or know that you have to repopulate the gut with good bacteria. We're not saying that an antibiotic is always bad. It is sometimes necessary, but it's definitely overprescribed.
And notice this doctor says it's overuse of antibiotics in childhood.
Right.
But no child gets stomach cancer. So basically, the reason people are getting stomach cancer younger and younger is because during childhood, they had too many antibiotics.
Correct. And probably was not corrected,
Right.
you know.
But he also does mention obesity first,
Yeah.
and being overweight and obesity, and we know that's on the climb. We've reported on that multiple
Tremendously.
times. So it says in the early 20th century, stomach cancer was the leading cause of cancer death in the United States, but the rate of new stomach cancer cases in the United States has been going down steadily, about 1.5% every year for the last decade. Unfortunately, many cases are not discovered early, in part because the symptoms are relatively common. And here's the thing. They never wait for symptoms when it comes to other cancers that they can screen. Like, they don't wait till there's symptoms of breast cancer. They do regular mammograms to catch it early. This is the one cancer where they have to wait for the symptoms.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no screening for it. It affects about 27,000 and kills almost 11,000 Americans each year.
It's too many.
And it encompasses 1.5% of all cancers diagnosed in the United States. So the signs, this is the same doctor, Dr. Sunil Kamath, said, everyone has an upset stomach from time to time. But if you're having the same symptoms for a month, that's more concerning, and it's time to reach out to your doctor. Early symptoms can include ongoing heartburn and indigestion, feeling bloated after meals, feeling full after only a few bites of food. More advanced stomach cancer can cause these symptoms: difficulty or pain when swallowing, persistent stomach pain, nausea and vomiting, blood in stool resulting in black stool, loss of appetite, unexplained weight loss. And what causes stomach cancer is a diet high in smoked and salted foods and processed meats. So those who love to smoke food, don't let that be your main source of food.
Right.
There's a lot of oxidative stress that goes into the body when you smoke food or food that's charred. Um, you know, a diet low in vegetables and fiber-rich foods can cause that. So definitely eat your vegetables. Drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco, being overweight or obese.
So let's talk a little bit about, because I think, believe it or not, I think fiber is one of those things that so many people actually don't get enough of in their diet. And I don't think that we probably understand the significance or the importance of fiber, and then what foods we can actually
It
take
got
in.
even worse when like the ketogenic diet became
Hmm.
popular and the carnivore diet became really popular. Unfortunately, because there's one type of fiber that you really only get from fruits and grains like bread and rice and pasta and things like those have fiber in them,
Right,
but it's soluble fiber. And then there's insoluble fiber, which you get from certain vegetables.
right.
And so the people who went ketogenic, they were doing only vegetables and meats, which, listen, I'm not saying it's wrong because I don't know enough about it. I haven't gone deep enough. Um, but there's types of fiber you get out of an apple that you won't get out of
Correct.
vegetables.
Correct. And those are some of the fibers too that really help to push food down right into the intestines, down the digestive tract. So that's part of the
Yeah. Again, all fiber does that. All fiber helps food pass through faster and better bowel movements, better digestion. I don't know at this point which soluble or insoluble, which one does what.
gotcha.
I just believe both are necessary. So, which is why, we've tried the low carb diet in the
Mm-hmm.
past.
Oh yeah.
And now we have a diet that is very balanced between fat, carbohydrate, and protein.
Yep.
I don't know about you. Personally, I've never felt better.
Yeah. I
I've
mean, it
never
makes a huge
I've
difference.
never enjoyed eating more than this. Like, it used to be I didn't look forward to every meal.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to every meal.
That's
And
awesome.
and
I'll tell your chef
but you know her?
very well.
Okay, good. Um Now, going back to this, it says men are at higher lifetime risk for developing stomach cancer than women. There was a famous person. Uh, you may not have heard of him. His name was Nabil Qureshi. He was in his 30s.
Mm.
And he wrote a very famous book called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. He was a Muslim convert to Christianity.
Okay, I know his name now.
He was trained in Muslim evangelism or Islam evangelism, and but anyways, the book is amazing. But it was tragic that in his 30s he got stomach cancer and passed away.
Oh, I do remember.
And
He really followed his last
yeah,
part of his battle.
yeah, I
He
think
followed
that's
very
still on his
closely.
YouTube channel where like
Yeah,
every day or every 3 days he did an update on his condition,
it was
and it
heart-wrenching.
started when the doctor told him you have 1 year to live,
Mhm.
and exactly a year later he passed away, and he did one last video on his deathbed in the hospital. Like I don't know if it was minutes or hours before he passed
Yeah,
away. He spoke one last time.
yeah.
But yeah, watching him shrivel up and shrink down to nothing and
Yeah.
suffer the way he did is amazing. And he was a young, tall, strong, athletic guy who used to eat a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
And when he found when they thought something must be wrong, was he would go to a restaurant and he would only eat a third of the plate, and his stomach would start to hurt. So the article is correct. A lot of these symptoms we think it's just digestive issue. Let me take some Tums or take some Rolaids or
Right.
whatever. But you can't ignore something that's recurrent. If you're getting heartburn once, twice, that's okay. If it's occurring multiple times or every day, go get an endoscopy done, have some imaging done, see what's going on.
This is why we really talk to our patients all the time about the importance of really knowing your body well.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes when we don't remember how it felt to be healthy, our body has spent so many years compensating for all the trauma, all the not getting the nutrition it needs, not getting the sleep it needs, injuries that have gone, untreated. All of these things add up to a stress load on the body
Yeah.
that does create interference in the body's messaging system.
Right.
And so when all we know is how our body feels as it's been compensating for all of these challenges, we forget what it feels like to truly be healthy.
Yeah.
And so that makes it much harder when anomalies arise.
Yeah.
It's much harder to see those in a sick person than it is in a well person.
If you ever hear yourself say the words, I must just be getting old,
Kick yourself.
kick yourself or come have us kick you.
We'll be gentle, I promise.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
You know, you can't blame it on age. I'm just getting old. So that's why my digestion is going to be slow. That's why I have to get up 4 times a night to go to the bathroom. All these things are signs of more serious things that shouldn't be ignored.
And often some of these things can be remedied by decisions that you make. Like there are ways that you can get rid of those things naturally in many cases and begin to experience like true health.
Yeah.
I kind of don't like to use the word wellness as much anymore because it's coined and it means so many different things to so many people. But true health, where your body is functioning the way it was intended to function, that the brain can literally get all the messages everywhere it needs to get into the body, like that's true health and wellness. When there is an issue in the body and you can acknowledge that right away because you know what it feels like to be healthy. It's a huge thing. Like just sit and think about that for a minute, because I think that's where most of us would love to be.
Absolutely. So real quick, survival rates. If the cancer hasn't spread beyond the stomach, 75% survive 5 years. But only 35% survive if the cancer has spread beyond the stomach to nearby lymph nodes and organs, and only 7% survive if metastatic stomach cancer has spread beyond the stomach to distant part of the body, like spine and other things. So heart goes out to Toby Keith's family.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a big loss, and I'm sure everyone will miss him.
Yeah.
Next, this is from Healthline. Another interesting one. This 18-year-old thought she was in perfect health, then she had a stroke. I mean, like, stroke is the one thing I think there's no way you should have it before you're like 75 years old.
I'm telling you.
And she's 18. So here's her story. The July before Kylie Loff started Boston University, she went on a 5-week trip in New Zealand with her soon-to-be college rowing team. A few weeks in, the 18-year-old had a stroke in her hotel room. She was skimming Instagram on her phone when suddenly everything went black, and she felt an intense spinning sensation. When I came out of the spinning and blackness, I used what little energy I had left in my limbs. They were becoming very weak and partially paralyzed. To run and open the hotel room door, I screamed at the top of my lungs for help, but it was coming out slurred. Her teammates ran out of their rooms and got their coach. She said, I had no idea what was going on because it was winter in New Zealand. A severe snowstorm was underway. The mountain village the team stayed at was shut down. Still, Loft's coach drove her a few miles down the road to an urgent care facility where he was instructed to take her to the hospital. However, due to the weather conditions, she could not be transported by ambulance or helicopter, so her coach drove her in the team van. While a drive to the hospital would typically take 2 hours, it took them 5.
This is just heart.
The entire ride, we're not laughing.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. The entire ride, Loft had to keep the van door open because she was vomiting. My coach had to negotiate with the emergency workers who were closing down the roads to get me to the hospital. Gosh. You remember we were taking our middle boy to the doctor once and the road was closed?
I remember he was very sick.
I ran all the way up and told the construction workers, I got a 4-year-old in my car. We got to take him to the doctor. you need to open the road for us.
Yep.
And they were like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I said, listen, he's only 4. And they pushed all the cars aside and they opened the road and waved us through. That was nice of them. But
was.
that's what this reminds me of. But
Yeah.
thankfully, he wasn't having a stroke.
Ugh.
I was terrified. My head was spinning. I was laying down, unable to move. And the only emotion I had was terror because I thought I wasn't going to make it out of that van.
Yeah.
When she arrived at the hospital, stroke wasn't the first conditions doctors guessed.
Well, of course not with her age.
Yeah, I was an in shape 18-year-old with no past medical history. They didn't really know what was happening. They went to performance enhancing drugs, alcohol poisoning, pregnancy. It just didn't add up to them that I could have had a stroke because I was not a typical stroke patient. However, about 10% to 15% of all strokes occur in adults ages 50 or under, according to research.
That's a surprising number.
10 to 15%?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Under 50.
A few days after Lof arrived at the hospital, she was no longer vomiting and able to withstand an MRI. Doctors determined that she experienced a stroke due to patent foramen ovale, a hole in the upper chambers of the heart that usually closes shortly after birth. Dr. Salman Azhar, director of the stroke program at Northwell Lenox Hill Hospital, said PFO occurs in about 20% of people. While PFO is one of the main causes of stroke in young people, the presence of PFO alone doesn't increase the risk of stroke. You have to have a clot sitting somewhere first and foremost before the PFO comes into play. If you have a PFO, instead of a clot going up to the lungs, it can go from the right side of your heart to the left, and then up to the brain. So the right side of your heart sends blood to the lungs. The left side sends it to the rest of the body. So clot can develop but if it bypasses the lungs, if it jumps sides, if it bypasses the lungs, that's when it goes to the brain. Clots can develop in legs as people age, or when on long flights or car rides, when they are not moving for a long period of time.
Again, movement is life, people.
That's
Keep
right.
Moving.
Keep
You gotta
moving.
move.
If you're on a long flight to New Zealand, don't sit the whole time. And I suggest wearing compression socks too.
Yeah.
That's beneficial. In addition to PFO, other reasons for stroke in young people include having a genetic or acquired clotting disorder, problems with a heart valve, or experiencing a tear in a blood vessel where a clot can form and reach the brain. Tears can happen spontaneously or sometimes when working out, falling while skiing, or being in a car crash. This is the same doctor who said this. The key symptom when a tear happens is you get severe neck pain. It doesn't take a lot to tear a vessel, though it's not common. Lof's mom flew to New Zealand and took her home to Boston so she could undergo surgery to repair the PFO on November 9th, 2022. During her first semester, she balanced school, homework, and 10 hours a week of occupational, physical, and speech therapy at a rehabilitation center in Boston. Due to her recovery, she had to sit out the fall season of rowing. However, she pushed herself through recovery, and in February of 2023, she began training with light exercise and slowly progressed to more intense workouts. By the end of 2023 spring season, my boat got 3rd place and our overall team got 2nd place at the national championship. So it took a lot of strides to get there. I'm back to rowing now fully. Today, she feels almost completely recovered. The right side of her body is still shaky and weak, including her right hand. So she had to learn how to write with her left hand. I take every day after the stroke as a blessing and a gift. And if a workout didn't go well or I got a bad grade on an exam, I don't dwell on it. I say, it's okay, and pick up the next day where I left off.
Man, can the rest of us just take some pages out of her journal?
Yeah.
Because I know I get so upset with myself when I don't hit all of my workouts in a week,
Yeah.
or if, one of my meals didn't,
Yeah.
end up laying out macro wise. And I'm not one of those people that's super, anal and whatnot about that. I do try to keep track of everything and stay on my plan, but I get really upset with myself, which is counterproductive.
Yeah.
And here she is. And then sometimes I don't feel like going, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a mind game. And here I can't complain anymore because here's this girl, even though 18, I got a few years on her. She literally came back from a stroke and like worked her butt off to finish school, going through intensive
Yeah.
occupational therapy,
10 hours a week.
right? On top of everything else.
Yeah.
And here she is learning to talk again, learning to move again, still going through college. And I'm not doing all that.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
It is.
As a student athlete also,
Yeah.
I'm impressed by all student athletes. Most people don't realize how much work goes into being a student athlete.
Mhm.
To still
Physically and
be a
mentally.
college student and
Yeah.
still do everything required, and I know some people are saying they shouldn't be making so much money and so on. I think they should, and I think I think they've earned it, they deserve it. They bring us a lot of sources of entertainment. But yeah, good job for her. A stroke occurs when a blood vessel that carries oxygen and nutrients to the brain is either blocked by a clot or ruptures. When that happens, part of the brain cannot get the blood and therefore the oxygen it needs, which leads to brain cells dying. Risk factors that drive cardiovascular disease also drive cerebrovascular disease, like stroke. So smoking, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes are all important risk factors. And now he talks about watching salt intake, and again, I'll caution that because salt is not a bad thing. It's necessary for all functions of the body.
Correct.
But if you're sodium sensitive, you do need to watch that. Then at the very end, he says our microbiome can change dramatically based on what we eat. We're learning more and more about how diet is even more important when it comes to our heart health. Isn't that interesting? We talked about Toby Keith and the stomach cancer and antibiotics destroying the flora in the gut. And this one is about stroke. And at the very end of it, now they're talking about the microbiome, which
Yeah.
is the flora in the gut. Very important.
So we're seeing this in as a basis for so many
It's funny
disease
because
processes.
alternative care practitioners like chiropractors, like nutritionists, like naturopathic physicians have always talked about this, but now you're hearing it from the medical doctors in the medical community.
Yeah.
So it's too bad it took a while to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
This article is from U.S. News. It says new prosthetic hand can sense object's temperature.
Now this is so cool.
Yeah, it is.
Because this is not just about movement. This is not just about being able to control movement of a prosthetic hand
Yeah.
with your brain, but to actually have that feedback to go back to the brain and to be interpreted properly
Yeah.
so that you actually get a sensation. That's nuts.
Yeah,
So cool.
That is really cool.
Very cool.
Really cool. So his name is Fabrizio. We don't know his last name. Fabrizio wasn't sure what to expect of his newly outfitted prosthetic hand until he touched one of the researchers who had given it to him. When one of the researchers placed the sensor on his own body, I could feel the warmth of another person with my phantom hand. Fabrizio, a 57-year-old man from Pistoia, Italy. He said, it was a very strong emotion for me. It was like reactivating a connection with someone. Fabrizio, who lost his hand 37 years ago, I guess when he was 20,
Wow.
experienced that sensation thanks to cutting-edge sensors installed in the prosthetic hand, according to a report published February 9 in the journal Med. Those sensors provide realistic and real-time thermal feedback to the wearer. With the hand, Fabrizio was able to discriminate between and manually sort objects of different temperatures. Temperature is one of the last frontiers to restoring sensation to robotic hands. For the first time, we're really close to restoring the full palette of sensations to amputees. And this is the co-senior study author wrote this. The mini touch device uses off-the-shelf electronics and doesn't require any surgery to restore temperature sensation to patients.
Now that's even cooler.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Cooler.
For the study, researchers linked the device to a point on Fabrizio's remaining forearm that caused him to experience thermal sensations from the phantom index. So basically, like if his arm is missing from here, then but he can sense temperature here. So when the fingertips of the prosthetic hand touch something warm,
Right.
something warms up and tells him this is warm.
So neat.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is something they should have been able to do a long time
Yeah.
ago. And it's not like they're attaching nerves or
Right.
sending signals to the brain or anything. It's just like this warms up when that warms up.
Yeah, but I wonder if, through increased compatibility with like Bluetooth devices, I mean, really, that technology is not that new.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, not that old. So,
That's true.
do you know what I mean? So that's probably where some of that has
Yeah.
come from.
Using the mini touch, Fabrizio was able to discriminate with perfect accuracy between bottles containing water that was 53 degrees, which is cold, 75 degrees, which is cool, and 104 degrees, which is hot. Without the device, Fabrizio's accuracy fell to just 33%. Fabrizio also was able to differentiate while blindfolded between human and prosthetic arms with 80% accuracy, thanks to the sensation of warmth provided by the mini touch. Without the device's accuracy fell to 60%. And they're calling this neuroengineering. When you reach a certain level of dexterity with robotic hands, you really need to have sensory feedback to really be able to use the robotic hand to its full potential. Our goal now is to develop a multimodal system that integrates touch, proprioception, which is sense of self-movement, and temperature sensations. With that type of system, people will be able to tell you this is soft and hot, or this is hard and cold.
Interesting.
Very neat stuff. I think we are out of time. I want to save this next article, the rest of these, but I'll tell you the title of it because it goes back to some of the things we talked about earlier today. It's why weight loss surgery is one of the most effective ways to lower blood pressure.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so that's what the data shows. But you'll be interested to see how they did that assessment, because they didn't have people lose weight.
Right.
They just did surgery, and then the other group, they put them on drugs. So I could tell you, obviously, that one's going to work better.
Right.
But you're not comparing apples and oranges. Anyways, thank you for joining us. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun, and I hope it was useful and valuable to you. And we're just so grateful that you join us every week. Please share. Please let people know that there's information like this out there. We're getting good traction.
Yep.
I feel like, you know what, and if there's articles you want us to discuss, send them our way. Definitely comment. We do look at all your comments, and we appreciate them greatly. So
We'll see you next time.
good show.
Great time. See ya.